Yeah, so what I have here on the screen, essentially you kind of give us your list of prefixes you want to analyze and monitor, whether it's your /24s, your /16s, /20s. We look up and say, is this prefix RPI, registered with RPKI for routing security? What's the overall reachability from those different peering points, different routing tables we get from around the globe? And if you upload kind of the origins you expect, we can tell you if your traffic's being hijacked. You see, you should be going to your AS, but you're going to somewhere else. That's a hijack that's been detected, as well as across all of your different prefixes you're announcing. Are your number of neighboring peers changing? Are your prefixes being withdrawn? And we see this from the Catchpoint private peers that Tony's describing, from RIPE and from route views. And in this overview, it allows you to kind of look back and say, last hour, last 10 minutes, last 24 hours, what's the change in these KPIs over time? And then for a lot of large scale internet visibility, you want to be able to see down to all the origins that are announcing, or maybe ones that are hijacked in this case, kind of highlighted by a little red color, saying, hey, this is not an origin that we expect to see for your prefixes. And the idea here is that you can actually go in and say, show me for each origin, all the different neighbors that we expect to see, or all the different prefixes that we see from our vantage points. Are any of them having any sort of reachability concerns, any change in neighbor counts, any change in peers that are seeing that network around the globe? And this will allow you to then see this kind of like a health check to say, are each of these different prefixes reachable? Can we group these by different supernets? Any sort of large scale kind of traffic policies or any changes in reachability or so forth. And then we get this data from different peering points around the globe where in this case, green or 99 plus is good. Your prefix is viewable from all the different peering tables that we have. And then there's kind of 3 hijacks in this one demo example here saying, there are 3 of your prefixes are shown to be coming from an origin that you didn't expect, for example. And so this is kind of just a general overview. Behind the scenes, there's still the same alerting, still the same active notifications of a maybe prefix mismatch, neighbors that you don't see in your path to you in the internet, or things of there's an origin not expected. I want to get an alert about that, be notified.
Are you looking at RPKI status of a prefix too?
Yep. That's kind of this little table here, in this case, either invalid or not configured in those systems. And from an overview perspective, you can always go into each and every one of these prefixes that you're analyzing. So if you see a change in reachability, see a change in peer counts, you get alerts from us. We can go ahead and say, we're seeing your prefix from 557 peers. It's 100% reachable. In this time frame you're looking at, there's 2 withdrawals, 248 announcements. And from a before and after a change, we kind of show you, from your peers on the left, this route was withdrawn. Level 3 was withdrawn from this peer. This peer is brought back up. And here's the route to go through your network to get to your /22, /24 that you're announcing, for example. So a kind of visual representation in time where you can kind of zoom in and say, these BGP events that are happening here, is the path changing? Or if you want to simply see the peer table, in this case, kind of a little dip in availability, this little orange line right here, a bunch of routes were withdrawn for this prefix, and there's kind of no reachability for the /24 at a given point, for example. And the concept here is just also allows you to filter to say, show me all the peers that see a route through GTT in this example, or show me all the peers reporting in from Korea or from Australia, or even by each collector or registry, for example, with the Catchpoint view, the RIPE view, the route views, for example. These are filters that you can apply to this data set either in the moment when you're troubleshooting, or want to see historical kind of changing and trending in the service. This does get down to things like analyzing your peers by origin, by neighbors that you see, as well as kind of going into like AS path analysis, BGP community strings to say, where can we parse out these community strings, figure out where this peer was learning this route from, what are the routing policies in terms of that BGP next path performance and so forth. And this type of hearing data, this type of analytics, we will also correlate it to your application testing the Catchpoint's doing to say, at this time, the routes, the active path and performance taken to your network, here's the latency, here's the packet loss from different networks and cities around the globe. But also there's that kind of correlated routing tab to say, when we were seeing packet loss or we're seeing a change in round trip time, I'll kind of build out a little graph here. We can kind of show you that, hey, this IP that we resolved to for your test case, your web browser visit or your DNS query or whatever test we're running, here's that matching /24, and here's that routing table view down below to kind of correlate and say, if you see a spike in packet loss, change in latency, change in user experience metrics, it looks like it's a path change. There's some issues there. Here's a correlation to say, from this peer, we saw a route change to go where Telia was withdrawn and a new route was announced at 6453. And you can go into the actual peer table to see what those BGP strings are and things of that nature to kind of correlate and analyze further.
Are you doing that test bidirectionally so we can see whether it's symmetrical?
So kind of like looking at it from your perspective as well?
Well, from those two endpoints, because oftentimes you could be going one way out and another way back.
Sure. For our network path view is only that outside in perspective. If we had two agents on each side, we also do have a concept of a node to node test that can show that asymmetric routing in that case, but that's we don't have that from the BGP side. It's only from that network trace route that we're running.
Yeah, those are really hard problems to find when it's only the upload that's having the problem.
Yep.
What's the alerting look like for these tests?
Yeah, so from a BGP routing perspective, we can configure on-demand alerts for, say, hey, you upload your /24. I want to be alerted if there's some sort of path change, or we see neighbors that we don't expect or we should expect. There's a prefix mismatch, origin neighbor, and you can kind of have this be a threshold. So a number of peers see that issue, a number of data points we capture see that issue, and it will kind of notify you via email, text message, or through webhooks. You can query them via the REST API, so you can get a message in Slack, get a message in other services that you use or different tickets.
Like message buses, like Kafka.
Yep. So kind of integrated to that webhook.
Yeah, we have some customers doing some interesting things about like validating that DNS responses are actually sending you to a place that's within their AS, not outside of their AS, right? So on regular tests. So there's some interesting things you can do here. And then obviously, if you shared your BGP session with us, then you can do the both. You can do the symmetric stuff.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. So if you want to share your BGP table, just get in touch with us. We'll send out an email address, and if you want to share BGP tables, we'd love to have it. We're happy to show you the tool and give you demos and stuff like that, and maybe work out a barter for services. So we do have lots of perspective. We do augment your current monitoring, right? So we can help in these things. We live in a geo world now, right? Geolocation is super important. So being able to measure things from different perspectives is super important, right? Like I mentioned MEC before, CDNs is another prime example. And then content is starting to become really localized, right? So having perspective matters. So thank you.